Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.
Maple Gold Mines is in a 50-50 joint venture with Agnico Eagle, the third largest gold producer. Matthew Hornor is President and CEO. Matthew, welcome to Kitco.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the joint venture. Can you bring us up to date?
Sure. The 50-50 joint venture covers two of our projects. We have a third that we acquired last fall that's located just next to the Talbell project. So the joint venture covers the Douay project and the Talbell project. It's about a 400 square kilometer land package. Agnico bought into the company. They own 12.8% of our stock. And they're contributing exploration funding over the course of 4 years at a minimum of $18.25 million. So the partnership is based on loosely the Malarctic model that they have in place with Yamana around the Canadian Malarctic. And that's done for strategic reasons for our shareholders, but also because it's a very fairly well-balanced joint venture document.
Take us through then, how does that actually work, the joint venture?
Yeah, so Fred Speidel is our VP Exploration. He's the general manager of the JV. Yeah. So on paper, although we're not listed as operator, functionally we operate the projects. I mean, with our partners. So we have a weekly technical committee kind of update with them. Every Monday at 12 o'clock, we go through the targeting and the rationale for approaching the projects, the way we're approaching it with the drill bit. And their team is on the line, and we go through everything from budgeting to the exploration and the resource expansion ideas and all the rest. There's a 45-person camp that we've already built a couple of years ago. So we have an operational kitchen and facilities around the clock, and we do the core cutting out there and shipping it out to the labs from site at Douay. That's the main area for operating both projects, all three projects actually.
What are the milestones, what are the deliverables, and then what gets triggered at a certain point within a joint venture?
What we're both going for is to expand the resource. I mean, we're looking at a minimum of, to be in with a minimum of 5 million ounces. We're sitting at 3 million ounces plus, yep. Because there's about 8,000 meters that weren't included in the resource estimate update, which was put out 8 weeks ago. So we're walking down the road towards expanding the near surface. When I'm talking about near surface, our average depth is about 350 meters. Yeah. In the Abitibi, the largest project, Canadian Malarctic, is 2,000 meters deep. And in the Abitibi, thematically, we know that the grades tend to increase and size increases as you go deeper. Yeah. So we're actually at Douay really scratching the surface, and our approach is two-pronged. We're expanding the existing near-surface resource and increasing the confidence of those ounces, as well as, and this is the second prong, looking for discovery deeper and outside the resource area. And when I talk about a resource area, it's 6 kilometers by 2 kilometers. Below that is where we're putting some deeper targeting holes down to 2,000 meters, a number of them, up to 10,000 meters total. So a lot of the catalysts exist within the near surface expansion, also the deeper discovery shots that we're going after this year. So it's going to be quite an exciting year for us and for our partners in that.
What's the infrastructure like around the area?
Infrastructure is superb. We have water and power. We're right along the highway. I like to say you could almost take a skateboard to the project site. I mean, maybe a little bit rocky as you get in there, but it's just a gravel road. Having operated in other parts of the world that are trickier to get to, like the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, where I worked with Robert Friedland at the Ivanhoe Mines, and also Ivanhoe version 2.0 in Africa, in DRC, South Africa. It's a little bit trickier to get to some of those locations than it is in Quebec. You fly into Val-d'Or or Montegame, you can drive with a rental car right to site or a tour bus. So we're blessed to be in such a great part of the planet. Sitting here in Quebec City today, I can tell you that I always pinch myself getting to operate a project like this, given where it's located. The people are fantastic. The government's supportive. The First Nations around us are also very supportive. We work with them on our projects for drilling contracts, etc. So the infrastructure could not be better.
You're funded?
Yes, we're sitting on $20 million of cash in the treasury. In addition to that, Agnico is funding the $18.25 million over 4 years. So we're into year 2 now on that, which leaves about $14 or so million left of that committed funding. So if you add those two numbers up, you get to about $34 to $40 million. We have some warrants that Agnico has that they get to exercise to get up to 19.9%. Those are 34 cents. So that's around $8 to $10 million. So between $34 and $45 million ish in our system, so to speak, in the moment. So very well funded.
Now, you mentioned the Douay, which is part of the joint venture that you're doing with Agnico, but there's another project outside of this that falls underneath Maple?
Yeah, there's the Douay project, which I like to call our larger kind of Malartic style project. It's similar in footprint, 6 by 2 kilometers. Malartic is relatively the same size, and the age of the rock is similar. The cutoffs are a little bit higher, but that style of project is what we're looking at Douay. The project that Agnico contributed is in the Joutel mine complex. Now, Eagle Telbel and the Joutel mine complex was operated by Agnico from 1974 to 1993. When gold was $350 an ounce. And they started at Eagle and they moved on to Telbel. They produced 1.15 million ounces at average grades of 6.5 grams. Their cutoffs were 6 grams. So we're talking about over a 19-year period, them operating profitably at $300 gold. They shut that down to go build LaRonde, which was the right decision for them to do at the time, obviously, given what we know what happened with LaRonde. And then they had to kind of reclaim the ground and put it into the accountant's world of keeping liabilities to a minimum, which is what every mining company does. This is kind of like I would call the rebirth of Eagle Telbel, if you will, where we're taking an actually focused approach to looking at what intercepts they had historically that they never followed up on due to capital constraints at the time. They were a fraction of what size of market cap they are today. They're about $20 million back then. And so they had to make decisions on where to put money. And so back then they shut everything down and they didn't follow up, do some of the drilling that we're now undertaking. That was on Telbel. We acquired the Eagle project next door, which is a project that sits attached to the joint venture ground of Telbel. And the Eagle Telbel is, again, a high-grade past-producing project, very different from Douay in that respect. It did operate, it did produce, and I like to say that, as we all know in the mining space, the best place to build a new mine is in the shadow of a head frame. And this is a head frame where there were 2 head frames, and there's underground workings all still intact that we'd likely have to dewater, et cetera. But that's the nature of that project. It's a restart, a vision for that project where we are bringing on stream the intention is to bring on multi-million ounces of higher grade material below and around where they mined previously. There are kind of what we say pearls on a string type trends that you can see just by looking at the geology. I invite everyone to look at our corporate presentation to see what I mean in picture format. And we're going beneath some of these areas. When I talk about high grade, there's an area that has 80 grams that was never followed up. Meters and intercepts over 15, 12, 30 meter rocks that never followed up back in the day, but for the reasons I stated. And what we've just completed is phase 1 of our Eagle drilling. We're doing 3 phases there. The next phase is to further go deeper, similar to how they operated and produced in the past. They started near the surface in the northwest and headed to the southeast. We're kind of drilling, following up, and looking for parallel structures that look interesting based on the historical intercepts that we now have discovered. We created a 3D model on the basis of 250,000 meters of analog data that they had compiled, Agnico as the operator compiled. And we crammed it into laptops and we spit out a nice 3D model which shows kind of what we're going after. So it is an incredibly wonderful experience to be operating in this kind of data-rich environment where usually you don't have all the data and you're looking at exploration from from a standpoint of maybe this could become something in the future, not this was something in the past, and we're now confirming drilling versus pure exploration drilling, if that makes sense.
Step back, macro question for you, Matthew. It's kind of interesting. We have kind of a beaten up junior space right now. Obviously, the markets have been coming down. On the flip side right now, there's like a bullish case for commodities. And, I kind of getting the feeling now that we're kind of getting a little bit more certainty, or kind of feeling a little bit better about this gold price, certainly at $1,850. It seems like maybe we're finding ourselves a new bench. What's the glass half full and the glass half empty as far as when you're looking at macro right now, Matthew?
I started my one of my favorite topics ever in school, going back to high school, is economics. So you're speaking my language when you talk about the macro picture and the micro picture. I like micro and macroeconomics, and my teacher, Mr. Thorne, in high school, I can remember his name, and macro always looked at what are the trends, what do you look at the future-looking trends around what's actually happening now, and it's a too easy of a case at the moment to see what's going on based on the currency that was created over the last couple of years during the pandemic, and then you have the supply side issues. You have unfortunately a terrible war happening. All these things have led to incredible inflationary impacts. The government's having to grapple with that, which is having an impact on the stock market. So you get these incredible deals like Maple Gold that are trading at, a fraction of what they should be trading at. But I think going forward, the setup for the gold story could not be any better. I mean, especially now that the market or the world is realizing that with respect to the crypto space, which was taking a little bit of the air out of their sails, everyone's finally saying, the emperor has no clothes. I mean, with the crypto world, although I'm a fan of the asset class to a certain degree, it's kind of based on people's belief in that space alone, and nothing that's actually generated from it in reality. You have, like currencies, you have to believe in the currency itself for the currency to actually worth something. And as soon as people start not believing in the actual fundamentals of what it is, the value set changes, then people have to direct their capital elsewhere. So from that perspective, also, I think gold has an incredibly bright future. And I think stories like ours will benefit, as the trickle down happens from the big producers, and then you get the mid tiers, and you get down to the explorers. But we're kind of, I would say, in a different class in that we're an advanced exploration, not a pure exploration, given that our resource we have already, and we have this restart potential story with Eagle Telbel.
Lastly, Matthew, catalysts over the next 12 months.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're doing 30,000 meters of drilling. We've already completed about 10,000 meters of that so far. There's going to be a plethora of information and results coming out. We just started today with some results in Eagle, but there's mountains of information more to come. And the information, that's a big one. We did an airborne mag survey, and the results of that are going to come out. That's looking at the VMS base metal targets on the western flank. Remember, we have 400 square kilometer package, so there are a number of incredible, important catalysts coming out between now and year end and next year. And of course, I can say that we are looking at all sorts of opportunities in a down market. Oftentimes, management teams get more transactional, and so of course we're looking at taking advantages of some of those situations and being opportunistic where it makes sense for our shareholders. So,
Matthew, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks for having me.
I'm at the Mining Investment Event of the North here in Quebec City. My name is Michael McRae, and you're watching Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.